Good morning. You're listening to Slices of Wenatchee. We're excited to bring you a closer look at one of our top stories and other important happenings every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Today, we're taking you behind the scenes of Leavenworth Summer Theater's production of The Sound of Music at the Ski Hill Amphitheater. Before we continue, have you joined Neighbor yet? If not, download the app today and join local conversations about issues that matter. Neighbor is a site just for our local community focused on facts, not misinformation. Best of all, it's free for everyone. To learn more, visit wenatcheeworld.com/NABUR. Now, our feature story. First up, Wenatchee World's Jessica Drake caught up with Emily Rollie, the director who's bringing this beloved classic to life under the open sky. Then later, we hear from Fiona Palazzi, playing the part of Maria.
So here talking to Emily Rollie, and are you in Leavenworth recovering from the heights of opening weekend of Sound of Music?
Well, I'm in Cle Elum. I'm based out of Cle Elum, so it's only an hour or so in the area, and definitely breathing a little more smoothly now that it's open and on its feet. So yeah, you're so right.
Oh my goodness. Well, what was your choice in saying, yes, I'd like to spend my summer in Leavenworth and work with this traditional and iconic musical production, given all your other credits?
I told the cast in our opening company meeting that I've loved this show since I was very, very young. When I was little, this is such a silly story, but when I was very young, we had a babysitter that would come over and we would set my brother up in some sort of activity. And then we had a giant bay window and we would put on the record. I'm probably dating myself with that, but it's fine. With the record of Sound of Music, and we would dance to 16 going on 17 over and over and over again. So I love this story and kind of certainly grew up on it. And there's so much I think about doing a show that Leavenworth has done for 29 years. This is year 29 for Sound of Music. That what does this ensemble in this moment bring to this really powerful, you said iconic, and just beloved story. So I was excited to bring that early love, but then also what I've discovered through the course of my career about story and relationship. And you looked at my resume, it sounds like. And so there's a lot of women-centered stories on that. And so I think Sound of Music is also so powerful in Maria as a character and the story of her kind of finding her way. So it has long lived in my heart. So I was excited to come to LST and get to play with it a little bit with this group of people, which is particularly a gift.
Sound of Music in Leavenworth is pretty site-specific when you get down to it. Would you speak to that?
Sure. I think, oh gosh, that's what really makes it special. And even I knew it, but this last week, as we've been teching and dressing on Ski Hill, it just becomes so goosebump inducing, it's so powerful and profound to watch this beautiful story, but then watch it happens as you look over the top of the stage and you can see the mountains behind. So when Maria sings her first opening moment in the woods, about the woods, we had a lot of fun actually playing with, how is she physically responding to the world around her and taking inspiration in that moment from it. So I think it just breathes a new life into it and gives you a scenic element that you can't always get in a quote unquote traditional theater space. Yeah, it's just really magical to be out there in the woods, on the mountain, seeing the mountain as the sun sets. It's pretty special.
It absolutely is. This time of year, I look up at the sunset and I picture your scene. It's happening every night. It's so beautiful. What's the dynamic of the cast like this year?
I was thinking about that and reflecting on it today, in fact, about how, not to overuse the word special, but truly special it is with this particular ensemble. Is we've got some folks who've done it. I think Gary Hesse has done the show 17 times, he said. So he's a long timer. And then we've got some brand new folks, and we've got some folks that came in from out of town, some that are just from the area, some that are coming back to it from being away for a while. And I think that mix of both skill, experience, and institutional memory is really rich, because it means there's lots of ideas in the room, and there's lots of willingness to think about, like, what is this story for us right now in this moment, and how do we tell it with this ensemble? And for me as a director, ensemble is one of the foundational pieces of my practice. And so I am deeply invested in ensemble driven storytelling and relationships. And so we've talked about that a lot in the room. And even the folks who have done the show multiple times have mentioned at certain moments, like, oh, I haven't thought about the relationship in that way, or how it changes over the course of the show. And so I think having a diverse ensemble of veterans, new folks, people at different points of life, points of training, points of experience, lets everybody learn together. And I think that's what makes and has made our conversation so rich. And then you have the kids who are, oh my gosh, profound in some of the things that they've thought about in terms of the kids, the Von Trapp kids and their story. And that just like enlivens the whole process too. So this ensemble in this particular year, I feel really blessed, because it is a group of humans who are so excited about bringing heart to the story, and for us to think about how we are, as this particular ensemble, bringing our talents to the center. So yeah, it's been really fun.
Excellent. Oh my gosh. That sounds that sounds so ideal. I'm thinking about the dramaturgy of the characters in that
Right?
ensemble for Sound of Music, and how there's an excitement around Maria and the new actress who's going to play Maria every year, and their
Mm-hmm.
unique take on that heroine. And then there's the children. I love youth performers. I think they're our most natural entertainers that we have,
Yes.
and
Truth.
love to like elevate them in any way possible. And kids growing up in these roles and maturing, I mean, it's such a community element in that way.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and yet now when I'm anticipating from your direction, because you've specialized so much in intimacy coaching on stage, is what relationships are you drawing intimacy out of? Of
Mm.
course there's some romance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh is that something you paid attention to with your actors?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as an intimacy choreographer, it's kind of wired into my brain and my directorial practice in so many ways. Because I think, oh, that's a whole, probably another conversation for us on another day. But the short version is, I think everything we do as artists is actually quote unquote intimate. Just because performing in front of an audience, things we've created changes the dynamic. That said, we've talked a lot about relationships. We did a lot of work as a full LST company. There was a company workshop in terms of consent tools that come out of intimacy for better communication and collaboration, which sort of set us up foundationally as a company to do this work in a collaborative way. And then certainly in the romantic relationships in The Sound of Music, the trajectory of Captain and Maria, but also the relationship between Captain and Elsa, which we've spent a lot of time talking about the complexity of each of those relationships and what is not only the dramaturgical arc, but also the physical storytelling arc that goes with and accompanies the intimacy, as well as like Liesel and Rolf, right? Like we only see them in certain moments, but that young romantic relationship that is different than Elsa and the captain, that is different than Maria and the captain, and what are the physical moments in addition to the storytelling moments that are already in the text that we could mine and create so it works for the actors and tells the story in a really interesting way, and maybe speaks to the character's arc in terms of how they're realizing those things. Because I mean, the captain's a complicated guy, and Maria, she's sent there, she said, like on God's errand. And so the feelings that she's no idea how to grapple with is complicated. So thinking about how those inform all of our physical storytelling moments, specific to the moments of intimacy, but just all of them, So the moments of intimacy actually also make sense. We talked about that a lot in rehearsal, especially with the adults, which has been really fun for me, and I think fun for them to explore and think about too. So it has definitely informed all of parts of the practice, I think.
Well, I can't wait to see that. Such a strong dynamic to draw out, thinking about physicality in terms of character development beyond, because when you have a traditional performance, like people know that's based on a movie, people know
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
words, they know the dialogue, they know the characters, they know the story. And so it becomes quite specialized how to style it year after year.
That was Emily Rollie, director of the Leavenworth Summer Theater's production of The Sound of Music. Now, let's shift the spotlight to the lead, Maria von Trapp. Here's actor Fiona Palazzi.
Okay, Fiona Palazzi, tell me where you're from and a little bit more about yourself.
I am from Olympia, Washington. I grew up there. I have a twin brother. We grew up doing theater together, but he went off into sciences when we went to college. And then I was living down in Southern California for graduate school. I got my MFA in acting from UC Irvine. And I also started teaching down there. And then I just moved back up to the Northwest pretty much in August. I moved to Seattle in August, and I had seen LST's shows. I saw, or I guess I only saw My Fair Lady. That was a few years ago with my family, and I was just really interested in auditioning. So
Tell me a little bit more about that. What was sort of foundational to your acting lessons?
So the co-head of the program, Annie Louie, runs a physical theater company, and we use contact improv with all of our scene work. So it was very much both in the physical aspect, and Andrew Borba, the other co-head, both co-heads really focused on listening and being open to improvisation in scenes, and just listening and responding and caring for your scene partner is like the core building blocks of all acting in screen performance or stage or new works. All of it goes back to you connecting with your scene partner. So that's really what I took away the most from that.
That seems compatible with Emily's specialty in like intimacy coaching and a more physical approach. Have you found good communication with your ensemble in terms of physically staging the show?
Yeah, it's been great, especially to work with Emily, who has, I think, like the programs I've been in, Emily also has a wide variety of different types of training and language that she can use. So sometimes we talk about moments like blocking physical moments in terms of texture. Sometimes we talk about it in terms of the internal monologue of what's going on with the character when and why that motivates a certain movement. So it's nice to be able to kind of paint with a lot of different colors in terms of how we're describing and getting into the characters and interactions within the show.
What kind of physicality are you bringing to your Maria this year? Is she like upbeat and quick, or sort of contemplative and slow?
So when I first was reaching out to Emily after I'd been cast, I told her I felt like Maria lived somewhere between Lucille Ball and Anne of Green Gables. And I think there's still some of that of like, she's so enraptured with the world around her that sometimes she's almost a little bit clown-like. But at the same time, I think some of her movement is very grounded because she feels very comfortable. Well, she's becoming more comfortable with herself, and especially around the children. I know I feel very calm, but also playful. So I would say upbeat, but in an easy way, not in an anxious way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, really well said. And what about the vocals? Tell me more about your singing experience and what it's like to be in such an iconic musical.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I grew up on Rodgers and Hammerstein, and I grew up taking voice lessons, but I started on the violin. So I think that definitely gave me more of like a technical approach when I started voice lessons. But because I just love this music and I love the story. And the lyrics are so beautiful. For me, it all comes back to the acting of it. And I feel like within my vocal technique, I apply a lot of what I learned through Shakespeare training and using an image that's described to really live in the word and create the actual image and experience for both yourself and the audience listening. If that makes sense. So yes, I use like technique to keep my voice healthy and to bring out different qualities, but also I find that if the intent is there and if I have a clear image of what I'm describing, the technique kind of finds itself, if that makes sense.
How about the business structure of Summer Stock Theater? Is that how's the residency in Leavenworth going for you, and what's unique about that kind of production?
Yeah, it's I definitely got really lucky because I was already in the state. I know there's some out of state folks that are really new to the area. So I was able to come up a couple weeks before and secure some extra work. So I'm also working at a coffee shop and I'm teaching yoga as well. So that's been helpful with just making the, I guess, financial transition into my life this summer kind of work. And I would say just living in Leavenworth is just delightful. It's just such a wonderful community, which is what I was really looking for in summer stock. And I know with these tight-knit communities, sometimes it can get a little bit stressful if you're with the same people all the time and issues come up. But really, LST is really great about finding kind people. And I found that has truly, truly enriched this experience for me thus far.
Lovely. What's next for you after this summer?
I'm going back to Seattle, and in Seattle, I teach with Seattle's Performers, which is a youth theater program that does outreach at different elementary schools, and we also put on full-scale productions for middle school through high school kids. So I'll be directing, choreographing, vocal coaching for a couple different productions of Beetlejuice. I'll be doing some Annie Kids productions, and then I'm also preparing an elite group to go compete, I think, in December. So a lot of teaching and kind of putting on shows, which I also love that side of musical theater of getting to create a show as well.
Working with kids as a teacher probably makes you well suited to the role of Maria with the Von Trapp children.
Yes, I will say I feel like it was a super smooth transition when they're introduced into the rehearsal process. And they're just I genuinely think all of them are so talented. And I think anyone who sees the show can just see that when I'm on stage with them, I just feel so relaxed and joyful. And it's not hard to look happy when I'm on a stage full of adorable and talented children.
That's great. What's your sort of last question to wrap it up? What's your message to the audience you hope to come?
I would say that people embrace this idea of being okay with different paths in life and different identities. And it all comes back to love of the land, which Maria has, and love of your community and your family.
To learn more or get tickets, head to leavenworthsummertheater.org. Are you passionate about the issues shaping North Central Washington? Then you won't want to miss the Wenatchee World Forum at Pybus. This monthly event brings together newsmakers and the community to dive into the topics that matter most. It's your chance to engage, ask questions, and be part of the conversation shaping our region's future. Have questions or need more info? Visit wenatcheeworld.com/forum. Now, a few other stories you should know about. Chelan Douglas County Volunteer Attorney Services has officially moved into a new expanded facility at 900 Ferry Street in Wenatchee. The nonprofit, which provides free civil legal aid, now operates out of a 5,000 square foot space that includes private consultation rooms, a community conference area, and room to lease to mission-aligned partners. Executive Director Eloise Barshes says the larger space will help them serve even more people, especially in housing and family law, after a year where demand rose sharply. Chelan County is now leading the state in rare bee discoveries, thanks to volunteers with the Washington Bee Atlas. In just 1 year, they've collected over 17,000 specimens and identified 15 bee species never before documented in the state, including 8 found right here in Chelan County. These findings, many led by UW graduate student Autumn Moust, are helping researchers better understand and protect the state's native pollinators. Educator and longtime Wenatchee Valley resident Mary Roy is one of this year's featured speakers in the Ripple Foundation's Elder Speak program. Her journey, from teaching mythology and ESL to walking the Camino de Santiago with her husband Joe, has been rooted in faith, simplicity, and deep community ties. Roy says that learning to let go of expectations has been one of life's most valuable lessons, and it's something she continues to practice every day. And finally, more than $148 million in new state grants will support outdoor projects across Washington, with Chelan, Douglas, Grant, and Okanagan counties among the top recipients. Local funds will go toward trail maintenance, boat launches, conservation easements, and public land acquisitions. In Chelan County, for example, $2.6 million will upgrade moorage floats at 25 Mile Creek, where Douglas County will see significant land restoration to benefit threatened species like the Columbian sharp-tailed grouse. These investments aim to preserve natural spaces and expand access for generations to come. Thanks for listening. For more information on all the stories you heard today, visit us at WenatcheeWorld.com. The Wenatchee World has been engaging, informing, and inspiring North Central Washington communities since 1905. We encourage you to subscribe today to keep your heart and mind connected to what matters most in North Central Washington. Thanks for starting your morning with us, and don't forget to subscribe to Slices of Wenatchee wherever you listen to podcasts.